Christian, even though they don't have a sense of consciousness of
Mm-hmm.
who they are and being,
in that existence, sure, they could.
Okay.
Because you got to always remember this. You come back here until you master everything. You always come back as what you hate. So if somebody came back as a Christian and mastered that, you're going to find most of your religious people had to come back and live that because in a previous existence, that type of mentality they were against. So anything that you hate, you will come back here and master before you make that transition on. But yes, you can live a fulfilled life in that existence. But then remember, each individual spends, this is what the 144, when you read the Bible, each individual spends 144 years on the spiritual plane and they come back here again. Do you understand that? Because it's the number 9. It gets into the infinite of 9. 1, 4, and 4 is 8. It gets into the cycles. So yes, they could live, because that's why I said it's based on, they will get judged based on their intent. So if they were a good, now granted, you might have a really good practicing Christian that in their mind they did everything right and they follow the laws. Yeah, that person will make that transition smoother than the hypocritical Christian who on the outside did everything, looked like they were doing everything right anyway, but they really weren't. So yes, I mean, it could be that Buddhist, it could be a Muslim, it could be whatever. The point being is, if the intent is the force that drives the working. That's it. How you doing?
I'm doing okay. I was just wondering, so with past life recall and recalling who you were in the past life to kind of help you with your karmic lessons, how do you tap into that in your present life to kind of give you somewhat of a guide in terms of fulfilling your
There's man, you guys should have been here earlier. It's like you guys got ESPN or something. There's a ritual that everybody can do, real simple. It's a meditation ritual to make you aware of who you were in past life, real simple. What you want to do is sit down, do whatever you need to do to your environment to enhance it. I find you're going to find as you grow in your spiritual studies, pure darkness is the best to do this in. The darker the better. You could do this with candle if you need be, that's fine, incense, whatever you need. If you feel like that stuff if it's going to enhance it, that's fine. There is no right or wrong way. You set the mood according to how it feels for you. That's number 1. Once you get yourself into a relaxed state, clear your mind. You definitely don't want to do this with a lot on your mind. So make sure when you go to do this, you're relaxed, you're in a positive state of mind, you ain't agitated, etc. Sit down, relax, clear the mind, start going into meditation. When you're relaxed, start to think about certain points in your current life. But pinpoint specific areas. Go back a couple of years, then go back further to when you were in your 20s, your teens, then go back to the stuff you can remember as a kid. What'll start happening once you get past the adolescent years, the porthole is going to open and it's going to start taking you to other areas and other existences in your life. And then you can take note. Trust me when I tell you it works. If you start doing that, you may not get it on the first time. Some people get it on the first time. So what you want to do again is go back in stages of your current life. Sit in meditation, get to that point, relax, and as you go back, start remembering the last couple of years of your life. Then go back a few more years further back. Then go back to your teen and your child years. Then try to really tap into when you were a small child. You'll find out what's happening is you're opening the subconscious mind, and then you're going to be gone. Trust me when I tell you. And then you'll start to see you might have been a warrior in another life. You might have been whatever. And then you can take note, and that'll help you. Because remember, we carry those personalities from previous lives into this life. So this is why you are now. This is why you act the way you are now. This is why you have the mannerisms and behave the way you behave now. Because a lot of that is transitioned into this incarnation. That's a reality. And again, a lot of the stuff that I'm talking about now, you have to raise yourself up to this reality. You're not going to find this in a book. You can read all the books you want. The books will just tap and scratch on the surface. But like I said, what this is about, ancestral worship, greater black magic, is about living the experience and not reading about it. I'm going to say that all night. Yeah. So if you really want to know the answer to those questions, you need to do the work. You got another question?
Is there a connection between when you're from the last lifetime during the reincarnation cycle and like your birth date?
Is there a connection?
Yeah.
From a previous one?
Yeah, from a previous one to your birth date. Like, if you were born, like for me, I was born April 7th. And let's say I pass on my personality you know, goes in the spiritual realm, come back with it.
You always come through that. You always come through that astrological sign. You always come back through that. You always come. You come through that astrological sign. It may not be the same exact day, but you're birthed through that astrological sign.
Really?
All the time. You come back through that astrological sign. Now, but keep this in mind, though. There's 3 signs. Remember, we talked about this. We talked about this in real old classes. You are a combination of actually 3 signs, not 1. Because your immediate DNA, which is your mother, father, and you, like, what's your mother's astrological sign?
I believe she's February 18th, and I'm not sure. I think it might be Aquarius.
Okay, right. And your father?
He is Cancer.
Okay. So you're actually a combination of all 3 of those. You're 33% of your sign, 33 of those 2 signs apiece. Now, what can happen in certain cases, depending on your existence, it is a possibility, but you will never come through anyone other than those 3 signs, because that's in your genetic coding. So when I said you always come through your same astrological sign, that's confined to you, your mother, and your immediate mother and father. You understand that?
Yeah.
That's what I meant when I said that. So it's always one of those 3. And you'll find, because the cycles that you come through, now remember, when you leave, say one incarnation, you've mastered what you needed to master, and now you've left here. You understand? There's a certain time frame you have to dwell on what they call the spiritual plane, the etheric realm, the vital life force realm, whatever. You need to be there for a certain amount of time. That's where the number 144 comes in. Do you understand? So now when you look at calendars, you'll see that they were structured kind of after this pattern. That's what that really ties into. It has nothing to do with 144,000 people. It has nothing to do with there's only 144,000 people going to heaven. This was all symbolic. There's a lot of numerology and astrology in that. But yes, you definitely come through those signs that are connected to you by DNA. All right, let me get her and then I'll get you. Go ahead.
Okay, so wait, what if both your parents are like Virgos?
Then you have probably a 67% chance of coming through Virgo and whatever your sign is. See, true astrology, people always say, well, like, I'm Gemini, right? So people will always think that that's my sign, right? What are you? Virgo. Okay. So we always think whatever our immediate sign is, but if you really dig and do the research, you'll find you have a lot of characteristics in those other signs. I mean, you'll have a lot of core characteristics in your main astrological sign, but we could start making things appear as a reality. Because we're Virgo, we start saying, yeah, that's me, that's me, yeah, that's me, well, that's me. You know, and really, your inner voice is saying, that's not really you, some of it is. But you'll find when you go start dabbling in the other signs, you'll find that you have a connection in a lot of those.
Also, the ascendant, the descendant, the
Correct.
sun sign, the moon sign.
All that's connected. And the planetary movements, when working spiritual magic, especially candle magic is very effective in the movement of the moon and the planets. Like I said, I used the deity Ra. Remember, these are archetype energies. Don't look at these as physical beings that actually existed, because you're going to get yourself screwed up. Because then we're back to man worship again. We're back to worshiping things outside of ourselves. That's not what greater black magic is about. And all these deities tie into a planetary movement of the planets and the astrological signs. And Ra's sign would be Taurus, the bull, because that's the animal that's synonymous with Ra, the bull. And fire is the element. So that is a perfect time when the moon is in Taurus, the bull. That is the time you want to work with that archetype energy. Like just past spring equinox that just passed, March 21st. That was what we did, was the invocation of Horus or Heru, which is activating that archetype energy. If you want to activate wisdom and knowledge, you would work with either Tahuti or Obatala. You could do candle magic, mental magic, or chaos magic, and activate that archetype energy, and that'll help with that aspect of the subconscious mind. So they all deal with certain levels of consciousness, nature, and inner workings of the subconscious mind and what we would call our soul, if that's what you want to call it. Go ahead.
I have 2 questions.
Sure, go ahead.
Okay, first question is, how do you align yourself with natural nature? Also, as far as being able to be light enough to transcend back to your original source.
Right.
What is, outside of dieting and chanting, what other things can you do to prepare yourself for that next round?
Right.
Making sure that you're spiritually correct.
And that's what this class is about tonight. Let's shift back to the chakras. First, step 1, your root chakra. how you're going to get aligned with nature. See, everybody wants to talk about the pineal gland or the third eye and their crown chakra. Yeah, my crown chakra is activated. No, it's not. 99.9% of the time, it's not. That's just shit that you say in your mind. It's not. And there's many ways to prove that it's not. First, we tend to neglect the lower chakras, the sacral chakra, the root chakra, because this is key that connects all the other chakras. Now, we talked about the root chakra last class because the root chakra is rooted in the earth. Its color is green. It deals with vegetation. It deals with physical things. One great thing to recharge, a lot of us will find out that we're disconnected with nature because the magnetism in our body is out of whack. Big time. Now, you can do this. Two things you can do. I mentioned this last time. One of the great things you can do is remove your shoes and walk on natural soil. It could be sand at a beach. One of the best things you can do. Grass is also another good thing. And the other good thing to do, whether it's in the sand or on soil, even like when we lived up in New York, we did this. You know how we used to make snow angels? You lay in the ground. What you're doing is recharging all the magnetism in your body, right? That's how you get centered with nature and the earth. In addition to dieting, meditation, getting enough of sunlight, because remember, vitamin D, which produces the melanin, okay, and keeps the melanin purified and clean, darker skinned people need more sunlight than lighter skinned people. See, I only need to be in the sun 20 minutes a day and my melanin is recharged because of being so fair skinned. Somebody that is very dark skinned, they burn it more because remember, melanin can take over 1,000 degrees of heat. As I said last time, it baffles me to shit to see people down here in Florida walking around with umbrellas and they're black. What it does tell me is that their melanin is not functioning correct and they're sick. Because if you're black and you're in the heat and you feel like you're going to overheat and you feel like you're getting sick, that's because you're eating horrible ass food, and melanin can get damaged by the wrong foods. If you're eating high carbohydrates, preservatives, chemicals, processed foods, and you're dark skinned, you're going to find out when you're in the heat, you're going to feel like shit all the time. How many of us have ate a heavy meal in the heat and we felt like we needed to get somewhere cool or we were going to pass out? That's the reason why. Your melanin is working against you when that happens. That's very important to know. Because what happens is the alpha brainwaves are activated by your neuromelanin. Now let's make sure we understand the difference between neuromelanin and neuromelanin. Neuromelanin is that brain melanin that's produced on the spine and the stem of the brain that coats every aspect of your DNA. That's what is the conductor that connects the superconscious to the higher realms. It's like an antenna that messages come in and messages are sent out. When the neuromelanin is functioning, you're spiritually in tune. Your neuromelanin is a byproduct of the physical manifestation of your genetics, which that can be from the highest of high yellow to very fair to very dark and blue-black. We've seen blue-black people over in Africa. They're so black, they're blue-black. We're lights. I mean, there's nobody here in America that's anywhere close to what a pure melanated being is. And I don't care how dark you think you are, because if you get ashy, dry skin, that's confirmation you've mixed in with the Caucasian, regardless of how dark you are. That's a form of leprosy and mixing in with the Caucasian. And you get it from darkest to dark to lightest to light. So melanin needs that's another aspect that's very important to getting locked in with nature and the chakras working, the root chakra especially. You need to make sure you're taking care of that melanin. And another thing that I mentioned before, and I would never tell nobody not to get any medical attention, but remember also which damages the melanin severely are synthetic antibiotics and drugs and prescriptions. It damages your melanin. They know this. And if you do have to take antibiotics, I always tell people